I am finally doing it. I am going to be doing my first bookshelf tour video, and it is gonna be long. I also have no clue how I'm going to do this video because I've never done it before, but I have watched plenty of different ones on other people's booktubing channels, and there are some quite different, but I'm pretty much just going to stick with going through all the books in my library first of all, which are all my read books, including some of my special editions and Barnes & Noble ones up top, and then I'll go into my room and go through all my different ones, which are my to-be-read books, special editions, and just some big series that I really love. Yeah, I can't even fit the whole bookshelf in the picture frame, but I'm just going to kind of grab them from the left and work along because that's the order that they're in. But yeah, I will just tell you what the names are and what the book's called. I can also guarantee to you right now that I'm going to pronounce some of the names incorrectly, so first of all, I'm sorry in advance. The first book is Love Rosie, which is also known as Where Rainbows Ends by Cecilia Ahern. Let's Get Lost by Adi Al-Said. The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie House Anderson, which was a gift from Rachel, and it was a really wonderful book. The Summoning by Kelly Armstrong, the Of Poseidon trilogy, which has the books of Poseidon, of Triton, and of Neptune by Anna Banks. One of my all-time favourite fantasy young adult books is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which also has the other two books, Siege and Storm and Ronin Rising in them. The Rain by Virginia Bergen, Zack and Mia by A.J. Betts. And another one of my all-time favourite series is Ashes by Ilsa J. Bick, which also consists of Shadows and Monsters. I was so surprised that Ashes became one of my favourite series because I bought Shadows first, which is the second book in the series, and I had it on my shelf for probably about 6 or 7 months before I realised that it was the second book in the series, and I hadn't even thought of reading it because I tried to, but I was like, what the hell is going on? But, yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's really good. Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, and right now I wish that I was in a cold town because it is bloody boiling here. I literally devour everything by Cassandra Blake because it's amazing. So this one is Anti-Goddess by Cassandra Blake. And then you've also got Anna Dressed in Blood and Girl of Nightmares, which is a wonderful series, which is like one of the first books that I read when I kind of started reading more of young adult, and it was amazing. The next is Alexander Bracken's series, which is The Darkest Minds Never Fade in the Afterlight. The Eve trilogy by Anna Carey, which consists of Eve, Once, and Rise. Another one of my favourite fantasy series, which is Graceling by Kristen K. Shaw, which also has Fire and Bitter Blue. The Selection, which is a series that I thought I would absolutely hate, but I ended up really enjoying, by Kiera Cass. I feel like I've already said that a lot of books are my favourite, but Bird by Crystal Chan is also one of my favourites. And Stolen by Lucy Christopher, which is also one of my favourites. The Killing Woods by Lucy Christopher. And now for the huge chunk out of my shelving section is the Cassandra Clare section, which has the Infernal Devices, which is my favourite over the Mortal Instruments. And then we have the Mortal Instruments. Then we've got the Bane Chronicles and the Shadowhunters Codex. Spirit and Dust by Rosemary Clement Moore, which I'm pretty sure is the second in this series, but I didn't know that and I read the book and it was still pretty good. My first copy of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Ali Condi's new book, which is Atlantia, and then her Match series, which also has Crossed and Reached. Spark by Rachel Craw. Then we also have the wonderful James Dashner's Maze Runner series, which consists of The Kill Order, The Maze Runner, The Scorched Trials, and The Death Cure. We've got the Beautiful Dark series by Jocelyn Davies, which includes A Beautiful Dark, A Beautiful Light, and A Radiant Sky. Wolfpack by Melissa De La Cruz, and this is a really beautiful story which I read recently and I really love, which is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria. Then we also have the Chemical Garden trilogy by Lauren Di which includes Wither, Fever, and Sever. Then I've also got 2 of my William Shakespeare / Star Wars books by Ian Dosha. Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly, which I just read the sequel to this book on my Kindle, and it's a really good mermaid series. High Stakes and Hunted by Alex Duval, which is probably one of the oldest young adult books that I have read. Angel Fall and World After by Suzanne E. And I feel like it has been a lifetime that I have been waiting for the next book. The Duel by Amy Ewing. Tina Fey's Bossy Pants. My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick, which was also a gift from Rachel. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and how good was the movie, by the way? If I Stay and Where She Went by Gail Foreman, and I swear I can never get the correct copies that match each other in a series. Masquerade by Kylie Fornasia. Black Ice by Becca Fitzpatrick. Oops, my books are out of order. Now we've got the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick, which has for Hush Hush, Silence, Crescendo, and Finale, which was also one of the series that I read early on in my huge young adult book reading experience. The Hunt series by Andrew Fukuda, which includes The Hunt, The Prey, and The Trap, which is actually a pretty good series for a twist on vampires. The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is my first Neil Gaiman book, which I got as a gift from Iz and Zach. Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. The Edge of Nowhere by Elizabeth George, and I hate to say it, but I hated this book. The Disharmony series, which includes The Telling, The Ladian, and Immortal Combat by Lee Giaranto. Thyla by Kate Gordon. The first two books in the Escape the Furnace series, which is Lockdown and Solitary by Alexander Gordon-Smith. Eve and Adam by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate. The first book in the Newsflesh trilogy, which is Feed by Myra Grant, which was a gift from Jessica. Spellcaster and Steadfast by Claudia Gray. And after the first book, I tried to get into the second one, but I couldn't really get through the whole book. Half Bad by Sally Green, which has a wicked cover, by the way. Then we've got a bunch of John Green's books. So we've got Looking for Alaska, Will Grayson, An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, Fault in Our Stars, and then you've also got Let It Snow, which is by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. But my favourite out of all these ones will have to always be Looking for Alaska. The Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Han, which includes Unearthly, Balance, and Hallowed. And I really love the spines of these books because I don't know if you can see them in the light, but they've got this little thingies here in the different colours, which look really pretty. I bought all these bad boys in one shot when I went to the PTA live event, and I absolutely love this series, which is The Enemy by Charlie Higson, which includes The Enemy, The Dead, The Fear, The Sacrifice, The Fallen, and The Hunted. Now we've got a few of the Amanda Hocking series, which includes Lullaby, Wake, Title, and Elegy, which is all one series. You've also got the Tyrell series, which includes Switched, Torn, and Ascend. And her latest book, which is Frostfire, which is kind of like a spin-off series from the Tyrell one. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, and I swear this series seemed to take forever to end because the release dates between the books is ridiculous. So you've also got The Evolution of Mara Dyer and The Retribution of Mara Dyer, and it was kind of like a wonderful, perfect ending to the series. Tricks by Ellen Hopkins, which is my first Ellen Hopkins book, and it was absolutely amazing. This one was a gift from Jessica. Les Mis by Victor Hugo. Tandem by Anna Jazab. Talon by Julie Kagawa. And now we've got a bunch of Lauren Kate's books, which includes the Fallen series, which has Torment, Passion, and Rapture. Fallen's also becoming a movie, just so everyone knows. I've also got the little spin-off short stories, which is Fallen in Love, The Betrayal of Natalie Hargrove, and finally Teardrop. The first two books in the Starbound trilogy, which is These Broken Stars and This Shattered World, which these are by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. The Cinderella Man by Jennifer Closter. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and if you read this book, I just recommend having tissues nearby at all times, and to not read it in public. I Am Number 4 series and The Lost Files by Pittacus Law. So you've got I Am Number 4, The Power of 6, The Rise of 9, The Fall of 5, Revenge of 7, and then you've also got, just the Legacies and Hidden Enemy. The Giver by Lois Lowry. Legend by Mary Lou, which consists of Legend, Prodigy, and Champion. The Young Elites by Mary Lou. Basically, the Throne of Glass series, which is like a crown on my head because it is the queen of all my books. It consists of The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire, and these are all by Sarah J. Maas, and they have just released a new name for her next book, which is Queen of Shadows. The Adventures of Cinnamon Girl by Melissa Keel. The Shadow Me series by Tahara Marfi, which includes Shadow Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me, and then a bunch of short stories, which is in the book Unite Me. On the Jellicoe Road by Melina Marshadow, which is also an amazing book. First two books in John Marsden's Tomorrow When the War Began series, so you've got the first book, which is Tomorrow When the War Began, and then The Dead of the Night. Three books are all by Kate McCaffrey, who was my English teacher during high school, which I was lucky enough to have. So you have Destroying Avalon, Beautiful Monster, and In Ecstasy, and she deals with a lot of teen issues like depression, drugs, and alcohol all through her books as well. Who said reading books is not a workout? Because this is really starting to get tough on my arm. So this is the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead, which includes Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spiritbound, and Last Sacrifice. But the Bloodline series, which has the last book coming out soon, which is the Ruby Circle, which I have just pre-ordered. But so far there is Bloodlines, the Golden Lily, the Indigo Spell, the Fiery Heart, and Silver Shadows, and these books are upside down. But yes, these are also by Rochelle Mead. I'm sorry, I'm starting to speak fast. The next book that I have is Twilight and the Short Second Life of Britannia by Stephanie Meyer. Then we have the first 3 books in the Lunar Chronicles, which is Cinder, Cress, and Scarlet, but it's supposed to be Cinder, Scarlet, Cress. 2 out of 3 of my copies of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which is one of my all-time favourites because it's just a beautiful story and it's so beautifully written. And now for one of my favourite authors' books, Patrick Ness with The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and Monsters of Men. Then you've also got The Crane Wife by him and More Than This, which is a really cool cover, by the way. Like, look at that. Then you've got Lauren Oliver books, which consists of Before I Fall, and then her Delirium trilogy, which is Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem. Solitaire by Alice Oseman, which is also my friend Rachel's favourite book of all time. You've got 2 of Emma Parsons' books, so the first one is Acid, and the second one is The Fearless. The originals by Kat Patrick. Red Moon by Benjamin Percy, which was a really good book. Stephanie Perkins books, which is also one of my all-time favourites because I just don't really enjoy romance books, but when I read these, my heart was captured by them. So you have Anna and the French Kiss, which are these first 2, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After. The Defiance series by C.J. Redwine. Divided We Fall by Trent Reedy, which is an absolutely amazing book. I cannot wait for the second one in the series to come out. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children and Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan, which includes The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. Then you've got the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, which includes, what do we got? The Blood of, oh, wrong way. The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, and The Blood of Olympus. You've also got Percy Jackson and the Greek Gods, and The Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Ultimate Guide. Revolution 19 by Greg Rosenblum. Divergent trilogy by Veronica Roth, which includes Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegent. And I can't forget 4. We cannot forget 4. Just like we won't ever forget Triss. We've also got a bit of Rainbow Rowell, which includes Attachments, Eleanor and Park, Fangirl, which is one of my few copies, and Landline. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Winner's Curse by Mary Rutkowski, which I am pretty much in love with at the moment because it was a really good book and I just read it recently and it was just amazing. The Collector by Victoria Scott. The Ghost of Heaven by Marcus Sedgwick, and the whole reason I picked up this book in the first place was because of the blue pages. One of the most beautiful historical fiction books that I've read so far this year is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Septies. Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which I also read this year, and I'm really excited for the sequel, which is very soon. Vampire Diaries, which is the Fury and Dark Reunion, and I have no idea what book this is in the series, but it's definitely not the first one. Well, not that I know of. I read this one like 3 or 4 years ago or something around that time. That feels like ages ago. But yeah, this one's by L.J. Smith, and yeah, it's Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, and I've still got to finish reading this series, but yeah, I'm gonna get around to it eventually. Now for a bunch of Maggie Stiefvater's books. So you have the Shiver series, which is Shiver, Linger, and Forever, which I absolutely loved. Lament, and The Raven Boys, and The Dream Thieves. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lani Taylor, which I could talk about for hours and hours on end, but I won't because I don't have that much time. But yeah, I absolutely love this series. If you guys are into like a high fantasy, like not dystopia, but like world building and everything like that, you should definitely look into reading these. The Slated Trilogy by Terry Terry. Reboot and Rebel by Amy Tintero, which I really enjoyed this one, and I really did not enjoy this one. I read this book ages ago when I was in England, which is probably like 3, 4, 5, a long time ago, and I remember this book forever because it's the book that I kind of started reading, and then it was the first book that was any kind of like sexual scenes in it, which I was like, oh, no, I'm too innocent for this, even though I was like 15. But yeah, I remember this because there was a scene where a girl's boob is out, and that's something that I'll always remember from this book. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, and the end of this book pretty much tore my heart into pieces. The Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld. Kiss by Jacqueline Wilson. Let's just pretend that his other book is in my hand, but The Fifth Wave and The Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey, but I have The Fifth Wave on loan at the moment, which has actually been on loan for about 2 months now, so I'm going to have to start chasing that one up. The Program and the Treatment by Suzanne Young. It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. And on the bottom row of my library is pretty much some of my mum's books, and then over to this wall over here I have like my kids' books, photo albums, cookbooks, war books, history books, kind of just a huge mix of all the books that don't fit into my young adult genre. But a few honourable mentions will go to The Sleeper and the Spindle by Neil Gaiman, A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. My most treasured book of all in the library is my Tilly Booth's Book of Love, which is a beautiful scrapbook done by Agnes, who is a really amazing person. And to everyone who read in this, I would also just like to extend a thank you and just trying to tell you guys how much I appreciate all the kind words, because I have never felt more loved in my life than when I opened this present. For the top row of my bookshelf, my mum is a huge fan of Twilight, and so she has like 6 copies of the series, but one of her favourite ones is this hardcover box set here, which includes Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, and The Short Second Life of Brie Tanner. This book is on my top shelf because of the dust jacket that's on it, which I bought from a store in Japan, but it's only really on like The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. Then I've got this leather-bound copy of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Then you have S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. And in my opinion, I think that every library bookshelf, someone who enjoys reading, should have a copy of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm not going to get all the books down, but I have my original copies of The Harry Potter, which are really worn and torn. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. Then I've got Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. Then I have Tinder by Sally Gardner. A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and Warhorse by Michael Morpurgo. And now for the most beautiful part of my collection, my Barnes & Noble Leatherbound Collector's Edition books. So we've got Fairy Tales from Around the World by Andrew Lang, Grey's Anatomy by Henry Gray F.R.S., The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Divine Comedy by Dante, The Holy Bible. 5 novels by Charles Dickens, which includes Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities, David Copperfield, A Christmas Carol, and Great Expectations. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Classic Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, and Agnes Grey by the Bronte sisters. The Republic and Other Dialogues. And for my treasured baby of all of my collector's books in the leather-bound editions, it is Narnia by C.S. Lewis, and it is so goddamn gorgeous. And it is pretty much the treasure of my whole collection. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas. Jane Austen and her 7 novels. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Other Novels by Mark Twain. Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. Selected Writings by Abraham Lincoln. The Complete Fiction by H.P. Lovecraft. The Star Wars Trilogy! Wicked by Gregory Maguire, which I'm really excited to read soon. The Complete Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. And lastly, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare. Scene change, and you're now in my dirty room. So this is the bookshelf that I have in my room, which features some of my favourite series and also my to-be-read books. So in the top corner we have the complete Harry Potter collection, but in reality the books are still up there. So you have The Philosopher's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. And I've got Outlander by Diana Gabaldon, and this is definitely one of the books that compete for my top favourite place out of all my books. So I have the whole series up there. So you've got Dragon in Amber, Voyager, Drums of Autumn, The Fiery Cross, A Breath of Snow and Ashes, and An Echo in the Bone. But I seriously love this book. I mean, the cover is not only pretty, but the story and everything about it. And I just love the fiction, the historical part, and the love story, and the characters, and the writing, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And the next row is basically books which are my favourite books, special edition, limited edition, and signed books. Got the hardcover books of the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. Then you've got my cloth-bound cover of A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. my special edition of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, which is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. My special edition and signed version of The Maze Runner by James Dashner, which my cousin Harley bought for me. My signed book of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. My special collector's edition of Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which is really gorgeous. My limited edition copy of The Body Electric by Beth Revis, which was a gift from Rachel. My Poetical Works of Longfellow, which is a book from 1877. And another edition that I have of The Hobbit. Sinner by Maggie Stiefvater. And now for the rest of my Marcus Zusak collection, I have signed a copy of The Messenger, signed copy of The Book Thief, which is also my first edition of The Book Thief, my hardcover signed collection of The Book Thief, and lastly, my exclusive collector's edition of The Book Thief. My signed copy of The Heroes of Olympus, Blood of Olympus, which was also a gift from my cousin, Harley, and my hardcover edition of The Night Circus. And my next shelf is pretty much my Game of Thrones shelf. So we've got The World of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Then, as you can see, I've got the whole collection of the Game of Thrones books, which range from, Game of Thrones all the way to Dance of Dragons. And I've also got these really cool little dolls that I got for buying the DVD. So you have Dany and one of her dragons. And also inside HBO's A Game of Thrones, which is season 3 and 4. And this bottom shelf is pretty much my To Be Read pile, which I have officially cut down by half so far this year. So my To Be Read books include Everneath by Brodie Ashton, which was a gift from Zach. A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which I'm really excited to read. The Fall by Adrian Chong. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. Althea and Oliver by Christina Moracho. Kate McCaffrey's latest book, which is Crashing Down. True Fire by Gary Meehan. And I'm currently reading A Game Board of Gods by Rochelle Mead, which I also have the second book in the series, which is The Immortal Crown. I don't even really want to try and pronounce this Colorless Tozakuro Tozaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. And I'm sorry that I said that super slow and that I probably messed it up, but I've heard really good things about his books, and this is the first one that I picked up. The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan, which I got for Australian Secret Santa. The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and I have a bunch of people telling me to hurry up and read this book, and I will get there, I will. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Lesson Zombieland by Gina Showalter, which is also a gift from Zach. The Archive by Victoria Schwab. The Geography of You and Me by Jennifer E. Smith, and I cannot pronounce that word today. Across the Universe by Beth Revis, which I started to read, but I haven't actually finished yet. Hey look, it's the other two books in the Poison Study series, which I will get around to. The Water Wars by Cameron Stratcher. Blue Lily by Maggie Stiefvater, which I am gonna read soon. Afterworlds by Scott Westerfeld, which I am actually going to try and do a read-along with because I haven't even started reading this yet. One of my friends hasn't either. So if you're interested in doing a read-along of this book here, then just send me a message on my Tumblr, which I'll leave a link to below. And lastly, we have the Monstrumologist series by Rick Yancey, which I have all 3 books in the series. So you've got this one, The Isle of Blood and The Curse of the Wendigo by Rick Yancey. Then I've also got my Kindle, which has quite a lot of books on it. But I am not going to go there because I am officially done. So now that you have all seen the books from my library and the books behind me, that is pretty much all that I can talk about because that's all my books. And if there's anything that I've learned from this video is that I should really go and get some more books. Anyway, this video was long overdue, so I'm kind of happy that I've got it done. And that's pretty much all I've got. So hopefully I will be back next week with another video. So thank you for watching and happy reading to everyone who is reading. Bye.